Well, it's 7:31 on the 13th of June, time for the Architecture Preservation District meeting. In accordance with the open meeting law, we will be recording this meeting and it will be broadcast over the Lunenburg Public Access Channel within 24 hours. If anybody is joining us via Zoom, you can ask to be heard by using the raise the hand feature. It's in the Zoom software. Excuse me. The agenda has been published and we're going to add one item to the agenda based on a CTA that we received yesterday. In fact, we actually have, I think, the individual who that CTA affects with us, so we'll get to him as quick as we can. Is there any public comment? Is there minutes for the 9 May meeting? Have you been able to generate those meeting minutes, Nathan? I know we've got
I didn't know that. I can do it, yeah.
Why don't we, you send those to us and we'll vote on those at the next meeting.
Okay.
Nathan, rather than hold things up here.
Yep.
Under the correspondence section, there was no major correspondence. I get a monthly postcard from the National Heritage Area that covers this area, and they have a lot of different programs planned for May, and it's not June, so that postcard has been overcome by events. All right, current business, we had a determination of applicability that came to us about a week and a half ago. I've emailed back and forth with the submitter of that request, and we'll get to that. But I first want to talk about the CTA that we received yesterday, June 12th. I believe our applicant is with us today. And would you like to say a few words about your plan and what you've done with regards to the house?
So
Let's identify yourself.
my name's Alexander Blaine. I actually live next door to the proprietor of the application, and I'm a general contractor.
Okay.
And Les's house, 920, is in need some repair. His exterior siding is quite rotted. So he asked me to do so. As a strong believer in maintaining the character of yesteryear, it'll be all just cedar bevel siding. Nothing, no vinyl. No vinyl, but yeah, just pull off the existing. I highly doubt there's any house wrap behind it, but house wrap and then reside. And then, yeah. Les thinks he's gonna paint, but I'll probably end up painting too. But it'll be the primed, bevel red cedar.
So, the wood trim, well, yeah, you mentioned it would be pine, is there, is it just basic, wood trim, there's no details?
No, his house is pretty basic as
Yeah.
far as, architectural detail, it's just one way.
Is the siding gonna be the same size?
Yes, yeah, 4-inch reveal,
Good.
rough hewn out.
Mhm.
Yeah, just a pretty straightforward. Remediation
Do you know if there's any sill rot?
to be discovered. To be discovered. Yeah, I haven't, gone open and prodding, it's just been, I think I included a photo, you can
Yeah,
see
you did.
it's where his
Yeah.
siding is just completely gone.
Mhm.
So, in order to keep from things getting worse, we'll nip it in the bud from there.
Good,
Little by little. It's not
Yeah.
cheap.
yeah, for sure.
Does anybody have any specific questions? Other than Richard's, which I went by today, the siding is, or the window trim is all plain Jane stuff.
Yeah.
Nothing tricky, nothing fancy. One note before we take a vote on the CTA, we changed our rules a bit, and I would recommend it. And now you did use the most current form. But I would recommend that if you have any future work, you know, with houses that are in your particular preservation district, this clearly would have fell into the category. We have an interim step now, which we think will make this process go quicker.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, I know, so the interim step is and you can see this in the architectural design guidelines that are on the our website. Where it says, tell us briefly what you're gonna do on a new form, which we created, we call it the determination of applicability.
Okay,
And what we do with that form is we kind of look at it and we say, yeah, this is a no-brainer, you know, this work should proceed. The one thing that it does do, and I'm actually gonna ask the town clerk if they can refund you the $65 that was paid.
oh, that'd be great.
Because under the determination of applicability, you just say, this is what we're gonna do, we review it, we give you an answer no later than our next scheduled public meeting.
Okay.
And it doesn't cost $65 to get that answer.
All right.
Now, if it's complicated, we would say, no, we think there's more to this than what's been described. We think you should submit a formal certificate
Okay,
of applicability, or the certificate to alter application,
okay.
and then the $65 would apply.
I was gonna, you know, in my own 2 cents, I was gonna bring that up, because there's a lot of legwork that goes
Yes.
into that.
Yeah, and there shouldn't, I mean, there shouldn't be for simple tasks.
Right.
You know, and that's the reason why we created the interim step of having a determination of applicability.
Okay.
You could have, that's a one-page form, you could have, you know, filled it out, taken a picture, scanned it, whatever, to get it back to us.
Okay,
No, I do know that, we haven't had a land use director, but the, select board on Tuesday night appointed Brian Gingras, the building commissioner. He is now the interim land use director / building commissioner. That just happened.
okay,
So, you would then have sent it to him and the town clerk, and then it would have come to me.
okay,
So I will see if the city can, or the town can refund you the $65.
Okay.
And, if they can, they will. If they can't, for whatever reason,
we sleep over.
okay, thank you for being cooperative. All right, so, I'll entertain a motion to approve the,
Motion to approve the
William-
CPA's
William-
on this, second it?
any other further discussions, questions, comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, you're
Can
approved.
can I have, just as I live on Mass Ave and
Yep.
I'm at 912. Just from my own understanding, where do we lie with using historically relevant materials? So I understand preserving the character and the overall concept of a historical home. But say if I had mud sills that were rotted out, where does the board lie in terms of using updated building materials,
Like what?
like PVC?
Doesn't show, right?
Right. So, cause I have some rot on my house that I'm gonna start plugging away at. So before I got, ahead of myself, I wanted to know where my constraints were as far as actual building materials.
Hmm.
Cause I am dedicated to maintaining the integrity of that house, but I do feel that, in the years today, we have superior building materials where we don't have to address things or maintain things as frequent as pine.
Yeah, our main mission is to preserve the facade of the houses and the appearance of that. As it's looked traditionally.
Okay.
Some materials aren't available anymore.
Right.
For restoration and so we have been flexible in things like that. And if it doesn't show, you just need to pass it by us. Usually we pass that stuff.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, I appreciate that.
We have, I think, a common sense approach to historic preservation. And sometimes folks don't necessarily see that being the case, but I think overall, you know, with the CTAs and now the determination of applicability form, I think to make this a much easier process for people like yourself who say, I like the historic character and want to maintain it to the greatest extent possible.
And, you know, lower the maintenance, increase the, you know, the robustness of maintaining, maintenance and integrity. Cause I feel like it can be a slippery slope with, you know, replacing pine with pine and, you know, people after a while, we just kind of throw their hands up and say, I'm done with this.
Yeah.
So,
We agree.
okay. All right, that's music to my ears. As much as I love pine, you know, the building sciences have come a long way, so. Okay, yeah, sorry, that was off agenda. I figured while I had you here.
Yeah, thanks for coming in.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
absolutely.
Makes it easier.
I will sign the form, I'll sign and then email it back to you, you know, through the appropriate chain it came to us. So,
Awesome.
and then once again, I'd say, go take a look at the architectural guidelines and it talks about the interim step of having a determination of applicability form, so.
Awesome. I'll definitely be using that in my house.
Okay, all right, great.
Thank you, John.
Thanks for coming by. Okay. All righty, so the next item on current business is a review of the 61 Main Street determination of applicability. I think that if you've had a chance to take a look at the form and the pictures, I think this is also a no-brainer that we should approve them proceeding with the work. So I'll entertain a motion for approval of 61 Main Street. I have a motion.
Second, I'll motion to approve.
Okay, William,
Second,
Richard, for a second. Any further discussion before we vote? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so that's been approved and I'll sign and send that back. And when I do both of these, I'll carbon copy the commission on that email. All right, Nathan asked that we include preservation of the Brooks House on today's agenda. So with that, I'll turn the floor over to Nathan.
Yeah, I think I can be pretty brief about this. So, you know, I don't know how many years ago exactly, but, you know, for a few years, the Building Reuse Committee has been formed. I'd say in the last few years, they've made some, seems like some decisions they want to move forward with. One of which is the renovation and expansion of this building we're in here, the Ritter, which is, I think, in my personal opinion, consistent with the aims of the Architectural Preservation District and the Village District as a whole. So I think that's fantastic. They're still, I think, figuring out what to do with patios. You know, in the last few years, the town decided to take down the primary building for better or for worse. That's done. So I think there's an opportunity for us as sort of the stewards of architectural preservation in the district regarding the Brooks House. I think this is a property that I think is not been prioritized, I guess would be one way of putting it, by the Building Reuse Committee. And I think if left to its current course, I think it's likely slated for the path of the primary school if there's no intervention. You know, like it'll eventually be demolished. So what I'd like the idea I would like us to entertain, forming a proposal around, is putting together a plan to preserve that structure through, I think, the most feasible means possible. There's been a process about incorporating it into a scheme of public use that has not gone successfully. I would like us to propose an appropriate private use that would preserve and renovate and bring the structure back to life. I think that's pretty much a summary of what so I think where we go from there is, you know, we have, if we are in agreement that is a good course of action for us to do as the APDC or in concert with the historic committee, then we would, you know, probably notify the building reuse committee, the select board and the building reuse committee of our intent to do that. And then we can proceed with, if, you know, after those conversations, one possible path would be proceeding with developing a plan. And by plan, I don't mean an architectural plan necessarily, but a plan for privatization that could be presented to the town at town meeting, for example. You know, and if we have the support of the building reuse committee and the select board, that is the best scenario. And of course, even historic, maybe we can present it jointly as a plan to preserve the structure. And if we're, if not, we can, bring it up as take it on our own to the town and have that conversation as a town.
I think it's a great idea.
Me too.
Having participated in the municipal building design committee, which Michael Ray Jeffries is chair. The Brooks House has always been seen as kind of a throwaway, it's like, there's nothing, no one really wants to use the building, it's gonna be difficult to change and adapt it. And, I think there was an opportunity at one point in time to have sold the house to somebody to turn it back into a house, and like the primary school could have been sold to the developer to turn into housing. And I think that, if we put together a plan, I think that might be something that would change that dialogue, reverse the notion that this is just gonna be a candidate that's gonna get demolished. One of the things that I keep seeing, there was a discussion at the Tuesday night select board meeting about, the old gas station project. I participated, I was invited to participate in kind of a brainstorming session for what the building could be used for. And they made the consultant made their proposal and said, we think you could do this, this and this. But one of the things that I keep seeing mistakes, not a mistake, but an oversight being made is that everybody wants to still talk about having stormwater retention. They were saying you have to create a stormwater retention, for the gas station site. And, the same holds true for the space the space between the Brooks House and the library. There's a stormwater retention basin there. And you could capture that by using an underground stormwater retention system, which is relatively inexpensive, and I think it gives you back, space for a yard, space for a driveway or a parking lot, yet you still maintain the stormwater control. And for some strange reason, I haven't seen that discussion held in any of the meetings that I've been to that involve reuse of an existing structure here in Lunenburg. Gas station being the most recent, the same goes for Brooks House. But I think that there's still a lot of potential for the Brooks House. I mean, it's not a lost cause yet. And I think that a plan would be great for us to create and then see if we can't sell it. So you'll take that on, Nathan, kind of the approach for that?
Well, I guess, yeah, I can take on, putting together an agenda for us to, as far as, or a plan, yeah, let's get, as
If
far
we
as,
could get an outline, then we can all discuss it and
yeah,
come up with the
Okay,
plan.
okay, that sounds great. Let's do that.
I agree.
Great.
All right.
That property is architecturally significant in its style in this town, so it's important in that way also.
Yeah.
And it's not in bad condition.
It's not,
And I believe that it has a sprinkler installation, which is good for commercial uses.
Mhm.
It's got some infrastructure. And it actually does have pretty good parking. Already.
close by.
Close to, well, attached to the, the site, so yeah, so that's great. No, this will be a fun thing for us to talk about.
Do you think it would be good to get an opinion from the planning board too, as to its significance in the village district? In creating business and activity in the town?
I think that's I think that's a great idea. Like, I think think about what boards we should be talking to, and I think, yeah, so planning makes sense to add that mix as
Yeah,
well.
because when we were doing the work to create the village
Yeah,
bylaw, that's what we were talking about, that building and the other buildings in town that could be utilized to create activity in town.
yeah, I think, I totally, and I think having a focused conversation about this one building, which is in some ways pretty separable from the other larger plans that are going on.
Mhm.
I think we can have a really good constructive conversation with these committees and with the town. It's basically like, I think at this point we can say the public reuse option does not seem to be an option. So it's either, there's gonna be nothing, basically nothing here, and there's gonna be this structure here with a private use. And, you know, to your point, it is, you know, vibrant area, like, I think it would be, having that be a lively area where there's people going in and out and whatnot would be a better service to the town than, you know, a blank space or more parking lot or
Sure.
whatnot. And I don't know, I think it'll be, folks might have other thoughts to bring up, but I think it's worth doing. And, yeah, and I agree. I think the more inclusive we can be with the other boards and with the public in terms of having some hearings and getting some input, I think it should be a good opportunity.
Yeah.
I agree.
Anybody wants to run a little coffee breakfast spot? Place for kill,
Yeah,
all the high school kids on
Yeah.
oh my gosh, yeah. I
I
mean,
mean, I
just,
seem like it's at the Wachusett Mountain Superintendent's House, in Princeton, which was the house where the superintendent lived. Now is a wonderful restaurant called the Montside Bakery and Cafe.
Yeah, it's good there, yeah.
Hmm.
So, I mean, that's the kind of and of course, looking at the pictures of the renovation work that was done that they have hanging in the renovated
Mhm.
Montside Bakery Cafe. It was probably about the same condition as the Brooks House, maybe
It
a
was
little worse.
vacant for decades and decades.
Yeah.
Once it went to the state, it was never utilized anymore.
Right.
Mhm.
So that's turned into, I'm pretty sure, a good news story
Mhm.
for preservation of the facility.
neat, yeah, it's, I think it must have now been almost 10 years ago, Damon McQuaid actually produced a design and renderings, well, conceptual design and renderings of what some things that reuse could look like. It was pretty compelling.
Okay, well,
It'd be nice to have him speak about it also
Yeah,
when presenting.
definitely. Now, he feels very strongly about that.
okay, this is not on the agenda, but I think it's relevant. At the Tuesday night select board meeting, Richard McGrath was supposed to be reappointed for another 3-year term. And in the confusion of the meeting, you also were to be reappointed for a 3-year term on the Historic Commission. There was a lot of question about who was staying, who was leaving on the Historic Commission. And the select board did eventually approve you, Richard, for a term on the Historic Commission.
Good.
However, they failed to come back to the slow this for me. They didn't come back to reappoint you to the Architectural Preservation District Commission. So I would highly recommend that you reach out to Heather or perhaps directly with the new board chair, Cesar, and say, hey, you know, I want to be reappointed. And it's my understanding that I got reappointed to the Historic Commission, but that there was an oversight in reappointing me to the
So what, they changed the subject and got overlooked?
Yeah.
Well,
So I think, and that'll have to happen before our next meeting, you can't participate
yeah,
as a voting member.
yeah.
They do meet next Tuesday
Mhm.
on the 18th of July, so they can take the vote then to get you reappointed. So you'll have to contact them between now and then. All right, status of town hall and road repair projects. There has been absolutely no information shared as to what the schedule is. And I'm extremely concerned by the fact that, I don't know whether you'd heard this, Nathan, I mentioned this to Wayne before we got started, but Heather Lemieux has resigned effective August 4th. So my guess is that, you know, we're seeing the consequences of there being a fair amount of churn in the town manager's office. You know, the facility manager reports to the town manager, you know, town manager's doing oversight of the staff that now knows that she's not gonna be here 6 or 7 weeks.
Hmm.
So I think that this might be an issue that we're gonna have to bring before the select board. Because I think the longer this goes, the higher the bill is gonna become. The other issue is that I'm not sure how they could do it, but there is ARPA money on the table that hasn't been completely obligated. And I'm pretty sure that both town hall estimates as well as Ritter Memorial estimates are woefully under appropriated. Meaning that the money that the town approved at the various town meetings is not gonna be adequate to do the work. So with your permission, I'd like to bring this to the select board to say, you know, we've been working with staff, we've not had a plan given to us. We're fearful that the buildings may continue to deteriorate. And, you know, this is, in a sense, what we all fear is demolition by neglect. And I don't think that's the intent, but that's the direction that we're headed here. Is that this work needs to be done to keep the building in good sound order, so. Comments, I mean, I think we've been fairly patient, I've written letters, or I've written emails, I've carbon copied Heather, you know, on the notes that I've sent to Chris Ruth. But there's been no action.
Yeah, I agree. We should go.
And the longer we wait, the cost of everything is just gonna go up and up and up.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm sorry if I haven't followed this closely. Which specific features are we talking about?
My biggest concern is the roofing and the windows and the rubber line gutter. I mean, we have a very unique structure on this building where you have a rubber line wood gutter, which probably has lots of leaks in the rubber and hence deteriorating the wooden gutter. And then the only thing good about that is that you could hope that the gutters would fall off before the water would back up and really work its way into the masonry. On town hall, you know, what was appropriated was woefully underfunded, you know, because the estimate was done in 2018.
Yeah, so I guess if we're gonna go to the select board on this, I mean, like, you know, I'm not in principle against it, that's our job, whatever. I think to ensure we have good quality communication, do we have a list of these specific items that?
I know, like every one of the items that's in the plan, you know, that, the set of drawings that Damon, you know, had shared with us. You know, all those items are critical in terms of, exterior integrity. You know, the windows, like, for example, we have some of the windows with storm windows in place and some don't, okay? And those which don't are suffering the greatest amount of damage, not to the window itself, but to the sill and the sides of the windows that are gonna remain even with the replacement of the existing windows. I
Okay.
mean, the contractor is required to take that old window out, put the new window back in, and then restore the sill and the wood around the new window.
Right, so I guess to make this conversation concrete with select board, because if I were on the select board right now, and I'm on this board, and I apologize, I would, you know, I think to make a decision, to make a commitment or whatever, I'd wanna say, you know, okay, here's an itemized list, not of all, I don't wanna see all of Damon's plans, I just wanna see an itemized list of, you know, these windows here, this gutter, this whatever, you know. I don't know if we could give them like an estimated years to like serious failure where it starts causing serious damage on, like you were just talking about the sills or whatever. And I don't think do we have price estimates or are they?
Yeah, well, and that's been one of the fundamental things that we've asked for, Nathan, is that when the town hall estimate came in, like, you know, $100,000 over the $250,000 that was appropriated, I went back to Chris Ruth and said, do you have a current estimate for the Ritter building? And he indicated to me by email that he was gonna get a revised estimate for Damon McQuaid. And we're like 6 months past that commitment.
Okay, so just what, the renovations, the things that you're talking about, that these are a small subset of that overall renovation plan, or no?
They are the renovation plan. This is not a small
Oh, you're
subset.
talking about the entire, well, the renovation, that
The
plan had an
entire plan.
expansion involved?
No.
Oh, this was a different, this is a different, okay.
Yeah, no.
Oh, you're just talking about an existing renovation plan that you're looking for them to?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It's all necessary things. It's, you know, that
It-
need to be done to the
It was
building.
it shelved because of, they thought, well, we'll roll this into the expansion, which isn't
No.
happening, or
No, the indication is that I'm too busy doing other things.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
And
Yeah,
I think we've approached the staff the right way. I mean, I think that.
from a budget standpoint, when are you, so your notion is, what are you looking to get from them, like?
Well, here's what I'm looking, is for the city or for the town
Mhm.
to update the cost estimate, so we know exactly how much is really gonna be needed to do the work that's on the drawings today.
Okay,
Because the work that's on the drawings today for town hall exceeded the, engineer or the architect's estimate by over $100,000. Okay, so what they were
Was
gonna,
that wasn't performed yet, that was just bid or? what?
that was bid, I think, late 2023.
Okay,
And, on well, I had my discussion by email with Chris to say, what are you gonna do? And oh, by the way, this kind of is an indicator, because the estimate that was done for town hall was done by the same architect who did the estimate for this building. And at about the same time, 2018, because that's when it was prepared to go before the town's annual meeting
okay,
for appropriations. It was actually a couple of years, it got approved at are you
okay.
ready for this, at 2020?
So our goal is to get the estimate so this can be voted on at town meeting, basically.
I actually think that if we wait till town meeting, it's gonna be too late, because the ARPA funds have to be obligated by the end of 2024. We won't have a special town meeting until probably November. And then by that time, it's too late to go out for bid and get a contract awarded and funds obligated. That's the reason why I think that it's like, hey, if you have money that's uncommitted from ARPA
Okay,
and you have a deadline, in fact, Tom Alonso at the Tuesday night meeting, when they were talking about the ARPA, he says, if we miss spending every single one of those dollars, says if there's $1 left on the table that didn't get obligated, he says that doesn't serve doesn't serve the town well. We need to spend all of that money.
Hmm.
So,
okay.
and this
So-
is a problem,
So-
probably the select board should.
So
become a main
so
thing,
either you're saying get an estimate, fund it with ARPA dollars
if necessary.
if necessary. Well, there's no budget allocated. Is there a budget allocated for this?
Well, the original appropriation was, I think, roughly $250,000 for both town hall and this
Okay.
plan.
Okay, yeah, I support that, but so basically the ask is that we need to, you're saying the building, Chris Ruth needs to get someone to do the estimate, basically.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, all right, next item was, APD property owner notification, and then the brochure public outreach. What I want to do, is share with you, kind of a letter and, some discussion areas. There's one for you. I will email this. We're not gonna finalize this tonight, but I thought this would be a good springboard to some discussion. And then, I will, there's one for Mary Don. Nice one for Richard. Okay, so my letter is short and sweet. By the time you put the seal on it and maybe make a few edits, we'll be at one page. And basically what I'm saying is, dear property owner, and I've used, I didn't go dear property owner, I just said to the owners of property located within the Lunenburg Architectural Preservation District. And if you can think of, I have no pride of authorship, so if you all can think of a better way of getting somebody's salutation correct, I'm more than willing to listen to that. But we have property owners of buildings that are in the district that, don't reside in them or don't even reside in the town of Lunenburg. So what I want to do is kind of make this a general addressment. So I want to let them know that this has been around since 2015, it's when the bylaw was approved. And that it's to preserve the historic character of the area. And then to kind of give them an attachment, the attachment's probably a more critical piece for your eyeballs. If you wanna, minimize your time in reviewing my letter, my attached letter. I wanna say, here are some of the things that we discuss and, what, bring to their attention things that could be issues. So the first thing I want to do is to say, if you haven't read the bylaw, here's a section that says all these things are exempt. And then to kind of go into some of the sticky points that we've had. Now, since I've been on this commission, I've actually not dealt with any additions or freestanding structures. You know, it's basically been windows, siding and trim. So I wanted to identify what I think could be, you know, contentious areas for people, things that might actually turn into something that looks like a certificate to alter that we have to review. And then give them a feel for the fact that, you know, we're open to doing things with a property owner. But you gotta understand, here are some of the key places, there's some of the key things that we wanna preserve, like, for example, Nathan, don't ever change your roof out, because you have slate on your roof. You know, but someday in the future, you know, I don't know what the condition of your roof is right now, but, you know, it's a key piece of the fabric, the historic fabric of the Lunenburg Architecture Preservation District.
Right.
You know, so we want to let people know that, you know, some things you got are really critical, and sometimes it's cheaper to repair them than it is to just strip them off and put down an asphalt roof. At the same time, if somebody's already seen that happen to their historic property, like the woman that came to us and asked for input on our position on solar panels that lived in the Luther Burbank house. You know, her roof was already, you know, reduced to asphalt shingles. That once upon a time probably did have slate, once upon a time, you know, that would have been worthy of the discussion, but it's long past, it's long gone, so no sense in talking about that. So my idea of having an attachment that talks about some of these types of issues is just to give people a feel for what we say when we see a CTA for things like windows, for siding. So if you could take a few minutes and look at this and give it some close attention and make some recommendations or some suggestions, please do so. Because what I want to do is finalize this so that in July, we can send a letter out to everybody who owns property in the Architectural Preservation District. You know, one of the things that in my looking at the bylaw again, and rather microscopic detail, is that the bylaw says that we can create new architectural preservation districts anytime the town wants to. Now, my guess is it would require a vote, like to revise or to create a new architectural preservation district. But it was identified in the 2015 document. Cool. Yeah, and this kind of goes back to the discussion we've had about, you know, expanding the architectural preservation district townwide. So, all right, so that's your assignment. I want your comments, thoughts, suggestions, within 2 weeks, because in 2 weeks, I'm gonna draft the final version and present it to you all for a vote. And I'd like to have your thoughts before we do that. And then, at the July meeting, we will finalize this. Now, you know, we've talked about doing a brochure, and one of the things that, I'm apprehensive in doing a brochure is they're expensive, and, you know, like if you put it on a thick glossy piece of paper, you know, and actually create like a trifold or something along those lines, that requires some artistic talent that I don't have, you know, to get that done. So if we still want to do the brochure, we're probably gonna have to hire somebody to come up with that, unless one of you all feel you have the artistic talents to do that. I can write letters, you know, and I can put them on letterhead and I can get them ready to go.
I think if we create it, we use some of our funds to just send them to like Office Max to print them on with lots of paper,
Yeah,
and then we'll just
Yeah.
have to fold them.
yeah, we could do that, but still, I think to do a nice brochure requires some, I learned my lesson. I was working on another volunteer activity and it was like, oh my God. I only have so many skills in laying out things and in making pretty pictures is not one of my skills. I desperately needed Photoshop. I'd taken a picture of an auditorium that we want to jazz up.
Mhm.
And I thought I could kind of manipulate the photo. I can't without Photoshop, so I actually called up a friend and said, do you have Photoshop? And he said, yes. I said, this is what I wanted. And my friend did that. But I was a one-time buyer because he said that was more work than I thought it was gonna be. So if we're gonna do a brochure, we'll have to hire somebody or find someone to do a little graphic design work for us.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with that. I guess the other alternative might be like a website or something, and then you could put a QR code on, I don't know, was this gonna be in the brochure?
Yeah, well, no, I was gonna say, that's gonna be a freestanding piece.
Okay,
Now, if we print brochures, if we had a brochure to print, I really wanna get the letter out to people and maybe maybe do the brochure. As a second action,
Mhm.
if we could get it done, by the July meeting. And here's one of the reasons why I wanna do that. Even the town officials don't understand our process, like, you got that email from Lisa, thinking that you're the chair of this commission still. And, it's like,
Yeah.
we got an education process to get done here. And there's nothing like a letter that says, here's who we are, this is where we reside every month. And this is where our rules are, and if you wanna do something, this is kind of the discussion we're gonna have about what you're gonna do, what you wanna do. And I think the sooner we get that out, the better we are. Now, the advantage of having a brochure, like if we got brochures printed, probably, like the minimum run would, to make sense, would probably be maybe 500 or 1,000. Maybe give some of those to the real estate agents and just
Real estate agents, you'd have them at town hall, the
Yeah,
historic
yeah.
society, the
Right.
library.
Yeah, so, does anybody know a graphic design artist that has Photoshop and might, take 3 or 4 of our pictures and turn it into something that looks like a nice brochure?
Um,
Well,
I can ask somebody.
Okay. Hey, anybody?
I'm sure I do, like. There's an application called Canva that makes this stuff pretty easy.
Yeah,
So like, I bet you it wouldn't shock me if there's some high school kids or whatever, that could do a pretty
Mm.
decent job with it.
have you used Canva?
I have actually, it's remarkably, I mean, you have to have a certain facility, you have to, a certain base level. I'm not a graphic designer though, and I can, with Canva, you can, if you follow this, kind of their lead, you can kind of do stuff that doesn't look like you made it. You'd have fun with it, you should get in there and give it a try.
I got
You'd be
involved.
surprised.
In my attempt to not have Photoshop, I signed up for Photor, and what Photor does is it manipulates pictures. It turns them into, takes a picture, turns it into a sketch, that type of translation. And after messing around with it, trying to get what I was looking for, that's when I threw my hands up and said, I need Photoshop, and I don't have it. So, all right. If within the next couple days, if somebody says, hey, I know a graphic design artist, I've taken several pictures of houses, and there are more pictures to be taken. Like we've taken Cullens, I would take a photo of the one burgundy colored house that's on the lower end of the Leominster Road.
Blacksmith.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous place, nicely done, I'd go down there, knock on their door and ask if I could take a photo and use it in a brochure.
Mhm.
It's one of the prettiest houses that we have in town, it's been nicely preserved. I can do the photography work, and I'm pretty good at that, but not the layout stuff.
Yeah, so you go into Canva, there's like, they do have trifold templates and brochure templates.
Yeah.
I would do it, except I don't have time, but.
That's another issue.
But yeah. Yeah,
I would rather find someone who, even if we have to pay them, I'd
Yeah.
rather find someone to say here. Cause we actually do have money to spend unspent. That's a mortal sin
Mhm.
and government funding.
My niece might be able to do it, but she's on vacation till next month.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to get it done sooner.
I just have one thing is, I'm not sure how I feel about keeping the existing widows in historic homes.
Existing widows,
Yeah,
I wonder on my spell check that, yes. Where you at?
well, because you spelled widow correctly.
I know, where's? that's
Doors
not-
and windows,
Where's it at?
it's under windows, the second sentence.
Oh, I see it, I got it. Okay, we'll fix that.
The
But
other
let's-
thing is in first section C, it says subject to time and size limits imposed by APDC. Is that the APDC or is that the village district bylaw you're thinking about?
Both,
Oh, there are,
that's in both. Yeah.
oh, we have temporary building conversation in the APD
Yeah.
bylaw? Okay,
Yeah.
okay, got it.
Yes, it does. It's in both the, like the mass, the size, it's in both the village district. And you know, really, it would be for, in addition to an existing structure, that we would get involved. It was a freestanding structure on a vacant lot, then the village district would get.
Well, this is temporary building. What is a temporary building? Like a
Trailer,
trailer or whatever?
yeah.
And that's in the APD?
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is right out of the APD. This is what, I mean, I cut and paste that.
Gotcha. Okay, got it. Thanks, then that's good.
Okay, anything new on 50 Main Street? Have we seen any movement?
Is that the church?
Yeah.
I spoke with Rob Bowen, this week. I went through, I talked to a contractor that I had experience with, working with. And, asked him if he could make any recommendations. He had somebody who was interested in looking at the job, and so I think he has a couple options now, and he's looking into those.
Good, good. The gentle nudging, they moved to success and getting things fixed.
Yeah,
Okay, anything else that needs to come before us?
Historical Commission update.
Okay,
Well, also I spoke with the owner at the corner of Whiting and Lancaster. There's a gentleman who bought a historic home in town and he's restoring it. He's interested in purchasing that home and restore it. And allowing her to continue to live there. I imagine rent-free until she can get into elderly housing, which she's been waiting for over a decade. And she agreed, she didn't want somebody, there's a lot of people that are trying to buy the house and flip it. And she wants to make sure that the house is taken care of and preserved by someone that's going to take care of it properly. So she agreed to talk to the gentleman about buying it and preserving that house.
good.
So I'm gonna put them in contact and we'll see where that goes. 763 Main Street, the Historical Commission has it under demo delay. The developer wants to build, I guess, townhouses on the property. He's the same developer that's building them just down the street from there, right? On Mass Ave.
Right at the corner,
So-
right across the street from the daycare.
Yeah.
for the old, former funeral home?
Yeah,
Oh, so where else is he? What else? What is the
at
other?
763 Main Street. He
I'm not sure.
has that property on the old funeral home.
So actually, there's the old funeral home. That's, I knew about that one, but there's another property he's.
No, this is what we're talking about.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
but the townhouses they're building are right across the street. It's the same builder.
I'm saying it's the same
Oh.
builder that wants to build them on the property, to tear the funeral home down and build them there also,
and he wants to build them where else? Oh,
on the funeral home.
no, the
property.
funeral home I know, but what's this other location? That's
Just down the street, he's building some,
okay, on a, just on a vacant
on a
lot.
vacant lot next to the old farmhouse there. Before the former gynecologist's house. On the right,
So that's one and the same, the guy that's
Okay.
on that work.
Got it,
Mass
okay.
Avenue
yeah.
is the guy that wants to.
Gotcha, okay,
So Brian Gingras, the building inspector, negotiated with the owner. And seems to have come to an agreement that he's going to parcel off 763 and sell it at a lesser cost. so that someone can buy it and rehab it,
You're talking about the funeral home.
the funeral home.
Oh, that's
Then he's
great.
going to build the townhouses in property in front of that.
Sounds like a good solution.
Brian's done some decent work on that.
Yeah. But the owner is it's in demo delay, and the owner is supposed to supply us with a report after 30 days from the inception of demo delay, and he hasn't done that, so he's in violation of the bylaw present.
Okay, but there's a chance it looks like that they will reparcel this and then sell the other.
That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, it would be good is if we could get a. You know, so it's not gonna do us any good to sell that other property if we don't get a deed restriction on it. So that might be a good thing to get in the mix there. So he parcels it off,
Mhm.
that gets approved by the ZBA. He builds the thing, he sells the other property, so it says, oh, we're gonna demolish this and put up something else.
Yeah,
Uh,
the same person that wants to restore this house is interested in buying that and restoring that
Okay.
one also.
So yeah, I would just, if you could, would you mind talking, do you understand what I'm saying about a deed
Yeah.
restriction? I mean, I think we should make that part of that deal, like, you get to get your thing, you agree to a deed restriction, then it.
Good idea.
Nothing onerous, just like, you
Yeah.
know.
No, you can't tell the house.
That's all right. You can shoot the squirrels, the rabbits, you know, you can cut the trees down.
The Dickinsons owned all the property along Northfield Road. The house, I forget the house that's on the corner, doctor owned that in the 1700s. His daughter's the first one interred at North Cemetery. The house next to that, there was a small cottage, kind of cool early 20th century cottage. It was called Happy's House because Happy Dickinson, if my memory is correct, used to entertain his female friends there. But that's been undergoing demolition by neglect for
He tried to drum up interest for the historic commission. on this tonight.
15 years. There's a lot of interesting
You're
stories.
talking about the house, that's on the
Well, you-
north side of Northfield, right?
Yeah,
And it's got like a nice eyebrow window.
exactly.
You know,
And it's got a hole in the roof now.
that house is a gem for renovation.
Yes, someone had mentioned to me that it was, the owner wanted to build, houses there, so they were just letting it go until it can be torn down.
So what's the status now?
It's undergoing demolition by neglect. The commission's going to write a letter, notifying them that that's the case, and,
Yeah, the current owner is not local. They're in Massachusetts, but they're not. Not in Lunenburg.
there used to be the people who lived next door.
Well, last time I checked that property, the address was some town in Massachusetts, but not Lunenburg.
Mr. Laxo, the vice chair of the commission, has done quite a bit of work over the years for the commission. As recently, he's done pretty much all the work to get a town survey from Mass, and a grant from Mass Historical Commission to do a townwide survey of the Kilburn houses, of which yours is one. And he's written a number of articles for the Lunenburg Ledger. He was instituted the restoration of the Arnold Litch Cemetery, a number of other things. He's retiring. This is his last month, so he's not going to be reappointed.
There was a lot of discussion at that Tuesday night select board meeting.
Yeah.
About him and when his term expires.
Yeah,
Because at that same meeting, Dave Passio said, I wanna be appointed to the historic commission, but only if there's a vacancy. And that set off this big conversation about whether the vice chair term ends in 2025 or it does end in 2024. And no one seemed to have the answer correctly. Now, on the website, his term ends, according to the webpage for the historic commission, his term ends in 24. your term ends in 24, and a woman's name, is it Megan or Maureen?
Yeah, Megan.
Megan, her term ends in 2024 too. So,
So hers is up this month also.
yeah,
And she wasn't reappointed?
I don't believe so.
So we,
So you have at least one vacancy guaranteed.
Mhm.
You did get reappointed, one vacancy guaranteed, and maybe two, depending on how they handle Dave Passios's request to be appointed to the Historic Commission, if there is a vacancy.
So they didn't reappoint him?
They
then?
did not.
Okay.
Yeah, in fact, they were going to, and then it was decided they would not.
The commission's restoring town markers that are in the possession of the Historical Society. I think there's 3 of them. And they used to be that's how business was done. You found out where you were going. You had town markers that said Pittsburgh this way, Shirley that way. So they have 3 of them, and we have the research that shows where they originally were. So we're gonna be restoring those this summer and putting them back in place with the help of the DPW. Goodrich Street Cemetery, we're going to be restoring the existing stone wall that's there and the gravestones. We're making a replica of Levi Goodrich's gravestone, which was desecrated and destroyed. That's almost complete. So we'll be doing that this summer, and then in the fall, the cemetery commission's going to provide field stone to build a wall around the 2 sides that don't have a wall, so that the cemetery plot will be completely surrounded. The Litch Cemetery is on hold because the cemetery had become part of one of the houses in the development's property in 1953 or so. So there's and the mortgage company owns the property, so you have to deal with them in order to get the easement to go through there to finish that, to my understanding. Townwide survey, we're in the process of finishing paperwork that's required from Mass Historical Commission, and we're getting then we have to put out a request to hire a consultant to do the survey. Hometown here, we have a Hometown Heroes banners program. You've seen those in other towns where military people are on it on banners, on telephone posts in town. That'll be coming before the APD when it's ready. There's still a lot of people that talk to the telephone company and the banner program managers and town manager to and select board to get approval to go forward with that. So we're working on that.
We blessed them, didn't we?
We did.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did.
Oh, we already passed
Yeah, we
that.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah, you might not have been here for that, but we did.
And so that's it at the Historical Commission. We may have some vacancies. We're seeking young blood and enthusiasm to take over the reins from the elders on the commission, while the elders are still there to be able to teach them what they need to know.
Thanks, Richard. That's a good report. You guys do good work.
Thank you.
But it also reminds me of the fact that I think there's way too many committees in Lunenburg that are all kind of pulling and tugging at the same issues. You know, like us and the Historical Commission ought to be one group, you know. And like the Green Committee ought to be kind of in partners with the Open Space Committee and the Conservation Committee. It just blows my mind. And then, you know, we have vacancies because you have so many committees that need volunteers. I think I'm gonna add up, this is gonna be one of the things I'm gonna work on, because I think the town is open committee, is to add up the amount of people you need to fill all these committees. It's staggering.
Positions,
What?
the amount of positions.
Yeah, it's staggering. And And I understand your wife is no longer part of the Parks Commission, which I think is a huge loss for the Parks Commission.
She's still gonna be working on to help the parks thing. I think it's, she'll be helping them out still.
Okay,
So it's all for the good.
all right, no other comments? Can we make a 11 July meeting? That's not a date that works for everyone? That might work. I'm going on a cruise. Actually, I'm taking a ferry to the Isle of Shoals in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. And this is an Alpha project, Alpha program. Are you familiar with that? Alpha is the adult learning for the Pittsburgh area. It's sponsored by the Pittsburgh State University.
Yeah.
They have a program where they're gonna give us a tour of the Isle of Shoals in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. And it was originally scheduled for us to depart on July 10th, but we heard yesterday from them that the ferry people made a mistake and that they didn't have a ferry available to take us. So they moved the date tentatively to 11 July. Now, I'll have to find out. First, I have to find out if they have enough people sign up that can make the adjusted date. And then, I think I'll be back by 7:30, but if not, then maybe come action.
If not, this will fit in your backpack, I'm just saying.
Yeah. What is
Look good in the woods, yeah.
Okay,
On the Zoom calls while driving.
I got a kid's messenger call, my granddaughter while I was driving, my wife wasn't too happy about that. All right, so, we have iPhone 2 on the call with us. Any comments or questions from? Yeah. If not, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
All right.
See everybody in July.